Hey everyone, welcome to the Animated Girl Profiles Confidential 38th episode, or edition, if you will. And here we're going to talk about a character. You can see her on the screen. We are talking about She-Ra, Princess of Power. Her alter ego, besides being She-Ra, is known as Princess Odora. She is the twin sister of Prince Adam, aka He-Man of He-Man Masters of the Universe. Now, what's interesting about She-Ra was how she debuted, how she was brought in. Now, He-Man had been running for about 2 seasons when the feature film starring He-Man, the animated feature film by Filmation, Secret of the Sword, had been released. Now, what was unique about this feature film was it was entitled He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. That's what it was entitled. It was entitled He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. And what was unique about this feature film was it was actually comprised of the first 5 episodes of the She-Ra Princess of Power animated series. That's right. They basically used the first 5 episodes of She-Ra Princess of Power as the building block or as the source for this feature film. Basically, they took all 5 episodes, edited them together, and made a movie. Now, back in the 80s, this was nothing really new. I mean, Warner Brothers had done it with the Looney Tunes movies, where basically a majority of the plot would center around the showcasing of animated shorts from the past. Even Clubhouse Pictures, which was, I think, also released He-Man and She-Ra, did this with Heathcliff, the movie, which was Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats movie, mostly Heathcliff-based, with Heathcliff telling stories to his nephews in the form of compilations of Heathcliff, 11-minute Heathcliff shorts. So again, this was nothing new in the 80s. However, a theatrical film being used as the pilot, or the base point, if you will, and pilot for an upcoming animated series was something you rarely saw, I believe. The only few times that I know this happened was with Secret of the Sword, because several months later, you saw the Secret of the Sword being shown on television as regular in episodic form, with different episode titles attached to them. And believe me, if you were a kid, boy or girl in the 80s, that wanted to see what She-Ra was about, and you ended up watching the first 5 episodes, and you were also fortunate enough to probably see Secret of the Sword in theaters, you'd probably be doing a double take, I should say, and asking yourself, why is Secret of the Sword being shown on television now? It was just in theaters not that long ago. Why are they showing it on television? And what's all this additional footage, or what's all this additional parts that I didn't see before, or edits, or whatever? Because if you did a double take with that, like I said, if you were someone that was fortunate enough to see The Secret of the Sword in theaters, as well as watch the first 5 episodes of She-Ra, then you had basically seen Secret of the Sword not just in theatrical form, but in its original intended episodic form. And this is what Filmation, actually it was Filmation, not Clubhouse Pictures, I should say. This is what Filmation wanted to do. Filmation did this, I think Clubhouse Pictures distributed it, but this was Filmation's idea. They didn't do any new animation. They just decided to take the first 5 episodes that were already finished, completed, and ready to be seen, comprise them together, and thus you had Secret of the Sword. The only difference was, the only thing that was different and created that was new was the intro for the movie. That was it. And so you had the intro for the film, and that was it. You didn't have anything else. The intro and the end credits, and like I said, nothing else. Nothing else was created. Everything else, the rest of the film, was just comprised of the first 5 episodes of She-Ra, Princess of Power. Those 5 episodes, of course, were Into Etheria, Beast Unleashed, She-Ra Unchained, Reunions, and Battle for Bright Moon. Well, Beast Island, I should say. Into Etheria, Beast Island, She-Ra Unchained, Reunion, and Battle for Bright Moon. Those were the only those were the episodes used to comprise the Secret of the Sword movie. And like I said, I know I sound like a broken record here, I do apologize, but when you saw those episodes as they aired in syndication, when She-Ra, Princess of Power made her debut in September of that year, you obviously, like I said, if you saw Secret of the Sword in theaters, you did a double take. Now, She-Ra, Princess of Power did run for 2 years. Now, the difference, though, was the difference between the 2 seasons of He-Man and the 2 seasons of She-Ra was He-Man, Masters of the Universe, had a few more episodes more, or had several episodes more than She-Ra, and She-Ra had about less than that. She-Ra had about 93 episodes. I think He-Man may have had 10 more episodes or 7 episodes more. I can't really recall. But She-Ra, basically running for 2 seasons, had the lesser amount of episodes. Now, He-Man himself, along with several He-Man characters, would make appearances in several episodes of She-Ra to kind of connect both shows and both universes, basically keep it within the same timeline, same continuity. So that was an advantage. And by having He-Man or characters from He-Man like Taya, like Princess Taya, I think that's, well, not Taya, well, she wasn't a princess, but characters like, what's her name? Taya, I believe, or I can't. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think here. Trying to think what her name was. Teela, yeah. Yeah, I got it now. Teela. You have characters. I think Teela made a guest appearance. I know He-Man made several guest appearances. Orko, Skeletor, you name it. They had characters, they had characters cross over, is what they did. Kind of, like I said, keep it consistent within the same continuity. They had them cross over, and it was also done to keep the young boy fans of He-Man intrigued, to get their eyes on She-Ra and see that, hey, She-Ra is just similar in many ways, storytelling and action-wise and all that, to what He-Man is. So the idea was to keep eyes to keep the eyes of the young boys from watching something else or doing something else on She-Ra, especially if you announce, hey, He-Man's going to guest star, or Skeletor's going to guest star, and it would, like I say, it would keep their eyes focused. And it did, because I can remember several times as a kid, even whether it was raining outside or not or whatever, I can remember several times as a kid, I would watch He-Man and then I would watch She-Ra, because sometimes the episodes would be, they'd announce, hey, He-Man's going to show up on She-Ra, so I would watch it. So, I'll give Filmation credit for making sure that the way it was aired in syndication, it was done in a way that kept the eyes focused on both shows. Kept the young boy eyes on She-Ra as well. Even though She-Ra was created for young girls. And like I said, the way she was introduced was similar to the way the My Little Pony series fully got into existence. See, the original My Little Pony series in 1986 was brought about, like I said earlier, or did I say earlier? I'm not really sure. But the My Little Pony series, like I said before, was brought about because, first of all, you had 2 primetime animated specials. You had the primetime pilot, Escape or Rescue from Midnight Castle, as well as its follow-up, Escape from Katerina. And then you had the movie. And then after the movie, you had the series, and the series starts out with a five-part sequel to said movie. So again, it was nothing new. The only difference between both films was My Little Pony, the movie, was not comprised of different episodes. Sure, later on down the line, just like with several Hasbro shows like G.I. Joe and Transformers, the feature films ended up being cut up into episodic form and shown as miniseries. So My Little Pony was no different. But the point is, the big difference between Secret of the Sword, which was basically a She-Ra movie, compared to My Little Pony, was My Little Ponies was an original animated feature. There was no episodicness or anything like that. She-Ra, though, you could tell right off the bat, if you had a keen eye, watching it in theaters. Like I said, if you were one of those that watched it in theaters and then watched it, in its episodic form, you would notice that, hey, I went into theaters and I saw basically 5 episodes. Even as a kid, you'd realize, or even as a parent back then, you'd realize, hey, we just took our kid to go see basically 5 episodes comprised together as one film. What the heck? Why didn't they just wait until the series, just show it like this and be done with it? Who knows? But the point I'm trying to make is, there was a big difference between the two. Because the way the original G1 MLP began was with a sequel, a 5-part sequel, The End of Flutter Valley, which was a sequel to My Little Pony the movie. The way She-Ra began was basically showing the Secret of the Sword in its episodic format, in its original episodic format. So, yeah, that's the biggest difference. But like I said, She-Ra, she ran for 2 seasons, and basically this all culminated in her and He-Man, I guess you could say, getting a sequel to Secret of the Sword with the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. Yeah, the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, I guess you can kind of say, served as the finale for both He-Man and She-Ra, but it also served as a sequel to Secret of the Sword. Just the way the plot, even though it was Christmas themed and everything, or at least trying to be Christmas themed, it served basically as a sequel to Secret of the Sword, and it caused a lot of things to come full circle with certain characters. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out and see it for yourself, but it basically served as a finale. Now, of course, just like with He-Man, She-Ra was originally intended to sell toys targeted more at girls. And yes, the toys did resemble at times, mostly like with She-Ra and Bright Moon and all that, they did resemble similarities to Barbie. Of course, being produced by the same people that produced the Barbie toys, Mattel, really didn't help. Now, as time has gone on, She-Ra has gotten more appropriate action figures for those that grew up in the 80s. More of a collectible feel. So, they have reissued at times the they have reissued the She-Ra dolls, as they were called, but they've also finally released throughout time actual action figures based on She-Ra. They did the same back then too, but not as prominent because, like I say, they were mostly doll focused on when it came to She-Ra. But nowadays you see She-Ra and He-Man and all them. She-Ra and He-Man, the classics as they call them, being re-released and reissued to the public. Now, He-Man and She-Ra are obviously regaining a lot of popularity thanks to people dressing up at them at Comic-Cons and conventions, cosplaying as them. In fact, recently, me and my family the other day went into a Halloween spirit store in Modesto, and right in the back area, they had swords, not replica swords, but basically, replica swords, if you can say it, of He-Man's sword and She-Ra's sword. And they had the costumes as well. Even my second oldest sister, who used to watch She-Ra, was impressed by that. So yeah, He-Man and She-Ra, both She-Ra and He-Man are regaining popularity as we speak, thanks to, like I said, people cosplaying as them at Comic-Cons and whatnot. They are regaining a lot of popularity, just like a lot of characters from the 80s and 90s and even 70s are regaining popularity due to the nostalgia factor people are finding with them, during Comic-Cons and, times like Halloween and whatever. So, yeah, they are regaining popularity. In fact, looking up information, I found out that in 2017, on Teen Nick's The Splat Block, yeah, they call it the Splat Block, according to Wikipedia, in 2017, as part of Teen Nick's Splat Block, He-Man and She-Ra will be returning in reruns. The original He-Man and She-Ra shows will be returning. So that'll be interesting to see. And it shows you how much times have changed when it comes to people liking these characters, because now you have these two animated classics returning as part of the Teen Nick channel of Nickelodeon, of Viacom, if you will. Of Nickelodeon, I should say. Now, She-Ra was supposed to make a return, though. Yeah, she was supposed to make a return to television in the early 2000s. See, around 2002, a new He-Man show called Masters of the Universe came out. And it was given positive praise for what it had. It was given positive praise for what it was given. It was darker, more grittier. You actually had characters, even though it would be like silhouettes or something like that, being shown in the background, and silhouettes or shadows being killed or whatever. It was more intense, darker, and grittier. It was actually good. It actually showed, I should say, gave a more proper origin to the characters, to Prince Adam. It was more fleshed out. Now, according to sources, the original plan was, had Masters of the Universe continued on for another season, She-Ra was going to show up in that season. Yeah, all the characters from She-Ra, like her enemy, Hordak, and his minions, and She-Ra and her friends, her allies, they were all going to show up in a new season of Masters of the Universe, which, if I was to be a betting man, would probably have led us into a She-Ra series very similar in tone as the new Masters of the Universe. Unfortunately, Masters of the Universe, the 2002 to 2003-4 series, was canceled by Cartoon Network, and we never saw anything come to fruition. However, like I said, nowadays, thanks to things like DVD, and in some countries, Blu-ray, and thanks to companies like Mattel, we're starting to see a rejuvenation, a reinterest to characters like She-Ra. And who knows, maybe somebody might pick up the ball one day and decide, hey, we were supposed to get a new She-Ra thing going back in the early 2000s thanks to the Masters of the Universe cartoon on Cartoon Network. Let's try it one more time and see what happens. Heck, you seen what Netflix is doing with Voltron and all that? Why not go in that direction with it? But, yeah, basically, She-Ra, what more can you say about this character? About Princess Adora, what more can you say? Except she was one of the first truly badass female characters out there in the 80s that really changed how you saw female characters. You didn't see them anymore thanks to characters like her, RC from Transformers, Scarlet, Lady J from G.I. Joe. You didn't see them anymore as damsels in distress. No, you saw them as badass, ass-kicking heroines that can hold their own and save the day when necessary. So basically that's all I could say for She-Ra and the history about her. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. And thank you for listening to this edition, the